The Turbo Boost event is live, and that means you can level up all of your alts or gear out your main. Now, this video right here, the most popular classes and specs to gear up right now through the Turbo Boost event. Maybe you got to pick one of your alts. Maybe you should stop alting and go out and touch grass. I don't know, but if you only have one class to play or multiple classes to play, let's look at some of the best classes to play right now in the game. Here we go.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. The Turbo Boost is finally here, giving players a new opportunity to fully gear out the character unshackled by any caps or restrictions. Now is the best time for you to be able to dive back in, whether you're looking to play a new alt or potentially as a returning player, to explore everything Season 2 has on the offer, with even more content happening over the next few weeks, but also an opportunity for you to finish out all of your seasonal achievements and seasonal rewards.
Right.
And so far, the Season 2 meta has pretty much solidified. We know already which are going to be some of the strongest and the most competitive classes of the season. While playing the meta class isn't mandatory, it is definitely more optimal, especially if you're looking to have the easiest time completing all of your seasonal rewards. And while I definitely encourage everybody to explore all the different playstyles, I mean, I've been playing Outlaw Rogue through thick and thin, whether it's good, whether it's not, and there's definitely some joy when it comes to playing something you truly like. But if you're just looking to get a brand new alt that's competitive for the season, just so you can feel like you could really push that content, or if you're a returning player looking to just play something that's good without any nonsense, and when you're looking to reduce the stress of bugging through content, then I do want to go over the most popular and the most preferred classes that you should definitely look on bringing up to speed during the Turbo Boost.
Yeah, look, this is not a meta class video. He's going to talk about classes, I can already tell from the timestamps, that are going to be different from what the meta is saying. But these are some of the classes that, yeah, you'll get invited more likely, because these are some of the top DPS classes right now, some of the top utility classes in the game. So that's good. Yeah, Sam plays.
Come, let us lay waste to this
Super
realm.
Chat, thank you for the sub on YouTube. Yeah, the way Sam plays, you would think he plays 10 alts, with his Blood DK being the least played one. Jesus Christ, okay.
And always use
Unbelievable.
another
Brad Streaming, thank you
Death
for the Prime sub, 13 months. Thank you, Death Knight of our Scourge, man. I appreciate it. This is a clickbait video. No, it's not a clickbait video. It's going to get into some of the best classes to play. Why wouldn't you want to play these classes? Or at least know what they are?
Event, highlighting primarily most popular choices and the most optimal classes that are being played.
Now, you want to say my react to this video is a clickbait video? Sure, because all of my react content is complete degeneracy. That's really what it's all about. But anyways, we'll let this video roll.
As always, if you guys want to see regular coverage of the War Within expansion, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. When it comes to the class of Death Knight, Unholy is king right now. Actually, one of the best out there, and it gets to play with Sunland, which it didn't really get to play much in Season 1. Just like a little bit here and there, but it's actually a very popular pick for a Season 2, especially in mad AoE content. Not only does this spec just implode mobs with diseases, but being able to spawn in a blood beast that also explodes.
Death Grip is such good utility too, and like you bring these guys, you can also have anti-magic shell and everything. Like there's a lot of good, that's what I'm saying, this is not just about meta classes. There's a lot of good utility. Now, I think Unholy is a meta class right now, but it's also about bringing good utility to a group.
So, even after the nerf it a couple of times, this thing is still highly effective. It's a very fast-paced spec that isn't bogged down by too many cooldowns, so it means that the overall gameplay is actually very, very engaging. This class right now is an absolute monster at endgame content, with the spec of Unholy absolutely dominating, whether you're looking at raiding or whether you're looking at dungeons. So if you're looking for a one-stop shop when it comes to the class of Death Knight, it is an excellent pick right now for the rest of Season 2. When it comes to the class of Death Knight, right now, Vengeance is the better option. Mostly because Havoc is a little bit undertuned. Like, it's not a bad melee by any measure. There's just other specs that are melee DPS that...
Also, if you want to play a class that's basically one-button rotation, right? Yeah, you could just play Demon Hunter, right? It's the easiest class to play in the game. Ooh, shots fired. Oh, no.
Take their spot.
People are going to get angry.
Like, dungeon content. You, of course, need a Demon Hunter for raids, but if you are going to play one, it looks like Vengeance does seem to be, like, the better option for the overall Season 2 meta. And hopefully we'll see a little bit more love for Havoc in the future. Vengeance as a spec, however, is very, very fast-paced compared to some of the other tanks, and involves a more active tanking playstyle that's a little bit more engaging. You're not going to be watching defensive cooldowns like a warrior or a paladin or any of those other classes. Instead, you have very, very short-term CC that are also highly impactful. So that means you'll have to rotate in pretty regularly, which adds to that engaging gameplay. It is also super tanky with Eldraki Reaver. It is a fantastic combo that allows you to be super self-sufficient. It also has some of the best crowd control in the game right now, which is where a lot of Vengeance strength, at least when it comes to end-game progression content like Mythic Plus Dungeons. It's super fun just having this amount of control in one singular class.
Vengeance Demon Hunter is the meta tank right now. It's really good. Yes, I hate on them because of their mobility. Me as a Death Knight, I do get jealous of how mobile they are and how much DPS output they have. But they're good. They're good. They're really good. Right now, in terms of rating, they're not as good, but when it comes to Mythic Plus, yeah, if you want to do Mythic Plus and tank, Vengeance Demon Hunter is usually going to be the meta.
What is why it is one of the more popular options of the season. When it comes to druids, right now, and usually almost always, balance is the more popular pick that is favored by many in the community. It generally historically has been one of the more popular range specs in the game for multiple different reasons. Right now, it is a very good range to pick up at the Season 2 mark because it, 1, easier to get into, 2, has some of the best AoE damage in the game, which is part of the fun of the core Boomy gameplay. I mean, who doesn't like dropping Sunfires, Moonfires, and just letting Starfall melt everything around you? But it also has some of the best utility when it comes to dungeon content and just overall utility that is also usable in raids. Druids are right now in a really good spot, and with how easy it is to pick up a balanced druid right now, it is definitely the spec that's easy to recommend so far for this Season 2.
Yeah.
Though if you're someone who wants to explore something less traveled, like a feral druid, you will actually have the stats to be able to swap into feral as long as you focus on haste and mastery as your 2 powerful options. And with a couple of trinkets and an agility weapon, you can actually explore and melee DPS counterpart if you want to, so Boomkin ends up being a fantastic spring point for many players that are looking to explore the class of druid for the season.
If you play, also, I mean, if you play a druid, you always have the flexibility of just swapping into tank if you decide you want to do that for a season, or swapping into feral, which is going to be your melee DPS, or boomy for range DPS. Like, yes, it offers the most variety, and odds are one of your specs is always going to be viable, no matter what season we're in. But right now, Boomy is pumping.
When it comes to the class of the evoker, I think right now your best play is to pick up Dev, as it's actually finally really good when it comes to raids and dungeons.
Devastation evoker right now, #1 DPS in raid. It's crazy.
Even throughout the expansion like Dragonflight, Devastation had a little bit of an ups and downs when it comes to its popularity, especially after they introduced augmentation to the game, which kind of set Devastation in the corner all by itself. But right now it has the spotlight. It is in a really good spot. Has some of the best, and I mean really actually the best damage when it comes to raid content and even dungeons. It is super bursty and also super easy to get into since they made Flame Shaper a very good hero spec, which while it does have an action component with Engulf, which doesn't mean you have to track a couple of dots in order to maximize its effectiveness, the playstyle itself is a little bit more passive that just amplifies the core of Devastation to some degree. And I think the combo playstyle that it offers is super easy to pick up for many players out there. And the playstyle right now, since it's not overly complex, with Devastation usually being considered as one of the more harder casters to get into, this would be the most approachable version of Devastation that I can easily recommend for the season.
Yeah. I didn't realize their rotation's kind of difficult. I know that whole mid-range thing that the way they play, where they're a mid-range spec, it's kind of weird. I still feel like WoW isn't made for mid-range. You're either ranged or you're melee. And a lot of these mechanics that we deal with don't do well with mid-range, but I guess they can move forward or backward. I mean, you just have to you have some self-awareness, because you're most likely always going to be positioned kind of by yourself.
We have the class of Hunter, and I actually think Marksmanship would be the class, or spec rather, that I personally recommend. I know that everybody plays Beast Mastery, but it looks like the numbers recently have started to gravitate towards Marksmanship little by little, which is really good to see. I think BM is a perfect spec to just like get into a season, but once players get comfortable with the current set of dungeons and raids and are looking to just inch out a little bit more damage, Marksmanship actually starts to come out on top little by little.
Yeah, I actually think Marksmanship has always been one of the easier ranged classes to play when it comes to raid, because you're just so mobile. You don't have a lot of cast times to deal with or anything. You can constantly move out. You have turtle shell to get out of things. You can disengage from things. There's just so much survivability when it comes to, and you can pull the boss early, because you know that's the meme on you. So nobody's going to get angry when the hunter pulls the boss early.
But now it actually is looking quite a popular pick so far, mostly because the rework has been excellent. Like, really giving Marksmanship a go, sitting down, giving the spec a proper chance, it's so fun. I actually really enjoyed it. Whether you play the Dark Ranger playstyle with a Black Arrow, which synergizes so well into the rework of the whole precise shot mechanic that Marksmanship plays into, which got fixed a ton, by the way. Big fan of that one specifically. But also the Sentinel is also very passive, but also very strong for content like AoE. It has excellent damage in raids and dungeons, and a pretty good set of utility no matter which hunter spec you play, plus additional utility that was missing when it couldn't run a pet, but now it doesn't need a pet, so you can do a lot more than ever before. Though, of course, Beast Mastery is a good alternative, like Marksmanship can be your starting point, but if you're just having a hard time with it, you can always pivot to Beast Mastery, which is a little bit easier to pick up, but definitely give Marksmanship a shot because they're looking very, very popular as of this moment. And then we have the class of Mage, which is one of my favorite options for the season, and I think right now would be the best time to, if you've ever wanted to play Arcane, this is the best season to finally give Arcane a go. There's a good chance you heard that Arcane
I haven't played Arcane in so long that I really don't even understand how it works anymore. It used to be all about sitting on top of your rune and just blasting shit. Is it still the case with them, or are they actually more mobile now? That's the reason why I never liked playing Arcane over Fire. Because I appreciated how mobile Fire was. You could scorch and shit while you're running around. Arcane, you always had to be like sitting still and managing your mana. It's fun. I had a lot of fun with it. You barely understand Blood Decay. Fuck you, Brad. Yeah, they're mobile now. Okay, yeah. So it's cracked, crazy mobile. Yeah, so that's good. That means they're way more fun to play. So yeah, this is a good one.
One of the more complex specs to play, especially if you played in expansions like Dragonflight. And that was generally true in that expansion, but in War Within, they've done a good job to try to streamline the spec as much as they could. And while they did make it a little easier, it does still have quite a decent bit of complexity. It doesn't have a lot of buttons. I mean, between abilities like your Arcane Barrage, your Arcane Explosion, Arcane Blast, Arcane Missiles, there's not too many buttons for you to really press in between of the whole basic rotational components. But still, every single one of the buttons have a very specific uses behind them, so it is going to be still
seems like a very reactionary spec now.
But in more cases than not, the spec comes down to buffing the damage of your Arcane Barrage as much as possible, which I actually think has gotten a little bit easier ever since they added the cooldown manager into the game. While not the most optimal or the perfect tool, the tracked buffs aspect of it does help out tremendously when it comes to picking up the spec, as it tracks a lot of the buffs that will amplify the damage of your barrages. So once you see those buffs active, knowing when to barrage becomes a lot easier without even having to get any specific add-ons or weak auras, as we now have in-game tools in order to help you track all of these things. With that, the playstyle of Spellslinger also helps a ton, as it's very passive but also kind of interactive, as it lets you play into more orb-based gameplay, just tossing the orb out for additional resources, and the passive nature of it.
Yeah, I see the problem you're mentioning with the orb. I totally see how that could be something that accidentally pulls a bunch of mobs, because it's just this like projectile that you throw out and it could just cross over anything or go too far, it looks like. Yeah, be careful with the orbs.
The core that is Arcane, which makes it a little bit easier for players that may have never experienced Arcane to really finally ease the way into the fun that it offers, especially when it comes to its big bursty AoE damage. Next, we have the class of the Monk. And when it comes to monks right now, I'm having a hard time deciding which one would be the better one to recommend, but I think Mistweaver stands out a lot in the season.
Mistweaver is best healer in Raid right now. It's so good. And they just can pump out maxed out heals. And they can heal like the AoE heal like crazy. Not to mention they have the knockbacks and stuff that really help interrupt and everything during Raid.
They're just overall very good.
For
Whether
monks right now.
Raids or dungeons, they're a fairly popular pick, especially with both the raiding version and the Mythic Plus version of Mistweaver heavily focusing into a melee healer mechanic. So essentially, as you do damage with your kicks, punches, rising sun kicks, and all of your nature-based abilities, Mistweavers actually will get to be able to heal allies based on the damage that they do. So if you're someone who more or less knows how to do damage but doesn't really know how to heal, this is like the best transitionary type of playstyle that allows you to play around doing damage while also being able to support your allies at the same time. And with this playstyle being pretty strong in both raids and dungeons, it's like the easiest one to get into as like a DPS player who always wants to be able to heal a raid or a group of 5 players. Plus, their kit for dungeons is generally pretty good, with self-defenses to make them reliable, proper amounts of CC with Ring of Peace, a leg sweep, and incap, and interrupts of their own, so you always have something to do within dungeons, but also strong bursty healing, so if you ever are in trouble, you have plenty of tools to help your allies escape near danger. Next we have the class of Paladin, and for them, easily, I recommend the Retribution spec, which is by far one of the most popular DPS specs in.
It is the most popular, and it's the most buffed now. What did we look up? We looked at the charts after the reworks of the classes. They moved up, what was it, 12 spots or so? It was insane how fast the Retribution Paladin moved up the charts. It was one of the biggest moves I've seen between 2 separate weeks of looking at the DPS charts, and it looks like a lot of fun. I can't tell you how much. I mean, there's Retribution Paladins right now in chat. You know who you are. You always talking it up. You guys love talking about how much you love to play Retribution Paladin right now, and we've seen it in Raid. We'll have like 6 Ret Paladins as the top 6 DPS. I mean, I guess it's just a fun rotation to play. I haven't played it personally, and it's a very rewarding rotation because it looks like it really pumps if you get it right.
The entire game right now. Paladin's popularity is well known when it comes to raids, dungeon, or even just casual content. Out of all the melee classes, this one is the one that's played
Nothing to do with fun. It's easy.
Doesn't necessarily.
Well, I mean, you know what? Sometimes easy is fun, right? I think that's like an unspoken hero sometimes, is that if a class is extremely intuitive and easy to understand and get good at, yeah, that makes it fun. That makes it fun to play. A lot of times, yeah, the very difficult specs are least played in the game, not just because they're difficult, but because maybe it's just too much. It's just, you know, it's too damaging. It's too punishing. You fuck up one little thing and your entire rotation goes to shit. Yeah, sometimes that kind of, what's it called? Kiss curse or whatever, when you're trying to do your rotation, isn't fun to play through. While Ret, it just seems like if you can it's really easy to be good at it. And then if you're really good at the game too, you can be great at it and then really pump out high numbers.
I mean that they're the strongest, but definitely they have got a huge portion of the community under their grasp.
See you, Ramen.
The class fantasy of Paladin have always been excellent. Transmogs have been fantastic. Gameplay is generally easy to get into, and they have a fantastic damage profile, great for raids, great for AoE, but also really good set of utilities.
Yeah,
so
utility, good survivability, good buffs. I mean,
Paladins are really right now an awesome kit if you're just looking for a standalone, strong melee that will likely stand the test of time all the way throughout the end of War Within. When it comes to the class of Priest, I honestly think if you have ever wanted to pick up a healer, this would be one of the best classes to grab up. Oracle Discipline is out of this world in just how strong it is.
Discipline Priest, meta healer right now for Mythic Plus, and very, very good as well for raiding. I mean, yeah, if you are a Discipline Priest right now, if you want to get invited to things, play Discipline Priest. People are going to invite you, regardless of your previous experience or whatever you have, boss kills or IO. If you're playing Discipline Priest, people are going to invite you.
I think it's arguably the best healer for the season. It's not amazing in every single encounter in the raid, but it's generally really good. Where it really excels is in Mythic Pluses. It just becomes the most safest healer to run with, which makes him like the perfect answer for anybody looking to pick up healing. Oracle helps basically simplify the rotation a little bit, allowing you to focus on using your buttons to heal. A good portion of Discreet playstyle is using abilities like your penance or smites or to deal damage to foes while being able to heal an ally, which a lot of players do have a bit of a hard time getting the hang of in most cases because it is a really weird healing mechanic. But where a majority of its playstyle really focuses on right now is being able to passively deal damage while mostly focusing on healing your allies, which is where the Oracle playstyle really takes charge in, as it is more of like a preventative absorb-based playstyle that really highlights the healing aspect of Disc, which makes it very, very strong and a solid pick. And while Disc will always have a bit of a learning curve in raids, as it's always have had for like years now, I think it is much easier to pick it up, at least this variation of Priest, than ever before. Especially for someone who's focused on potentially running a lot of dungeons within this season, this ends up being, I think, the best option as of this moment. However, when picking a poison, if you got a taste for daggers as well as stealth, then Rogue would be honestly the best option. That being said, it's usually one of the harder classes to pick up, at least in comparison, after me getting the chance to play all of them within War Within. And while I know
he's probably going to say Assassination Rogue, I would guess, it's their best spec right now. I think Sub Titty is in the absolute fucking gutter. And then Outlaw Rogue plays a lot of RNG.
My favorite, the spec of Outlaw, it is one that is very quirky. It's a ton of fun. It's gotten a lot more improved. And
you see, this is not a meta spec video. So Outlaw Rogue, I believe Assassination Rogue is better than Outlaw right now. I could be wrong, but I thought we were looking at the charts. They were. But yeah, Outlaw Rogue to me has always looked like the most fun spec to play. The thing about it is you roll the dice and the RNG involved with that. It could put you through an emotional roller coaster.
It's actually probably one of the best spots it's been in a decent bit of time. Like, it's just satisfying to play. But I think my recommendation was going to be Assassination. This one has tested. This one is.
Well, damn it. Okay, I stand correct. I was right. He says Assassination's the best one. Okay.
To the test of time and have proven itself to be a very approachable option for
Outlaw doing way better now because
especially
Blade
if you
Flurry.
love this whole like bleeds, poisons, daggers, burst, sustain.
Oh, there was a bug with Blade Flurry and now it's fixed. Okay.
Assassination offers, which has a little bit of this like stealthy leanings, but also some of the more brutal blood-based leanings as well. And overall, this ends up being the most intuitive and straightforward rogue spec to pick up, with some of the most simple cooldowns to play around with. Whether you're playing around the 2-minute death mark or potentially the Kingsbane playstyle, it's like the general gameplay loop, the uptime, as well as the rotational changes between in cooldowns and out of cooldowns, the maintenance of the spec when it comes to your comp point building and spending. It is probably the easiest one for many players to grasp out there. But picking up Assassination also does help you pivot to other specs, like if Assassination is just not part of your taste, but you may want to give Subtlety a go. Assassination has basically similar gear requirements as Subtlety. You know, the daggers, the trinkets, and stats will be very, very similar to that spec. So at least it gives you like a pivot point if, let's say, Assassination just doesn't quite scratch that itch, but a more stealthier, more bursty spec of Subtlety may just do the trick.
Sure.
If you've been watching this video through the beginning and didn't skip around to the different classes, you probably would have noticed that I'm using the word straightforward a lot for many of the specs that I recommend. And Elemental falls in that same category. It is a very straightforward and easy to pick up spec, whether you're looking for raids or dungeons.
Man, I didn't think about this. Elemental probably would be good for horrific visions. Yeah, because they have good survivability. Obviously, they have plenty of utility. Their totems can be used a lot to slow things down, make sure mobs aren't coming in too fast and hot, because that does happen at horrific visions. Elemental was one of the best, too, for a while. They were a top spec early in this expansion.
Enhancement is also good, Rescue is also very strong right now, but I feel like if you just want a no-nonsense that gets the results, Elemental right now is in the best position it ever been. With a very strong
yeah, so does Ret Paladin, that's true.
A lot of upfront damage, cooldowns that are super highly impactful, but also quite a little bit of instacast damage, so mobility is not an issue if you're someone who wants to play slightly less of a standstill and cast type of a caster spec. And the damage of this spec can definitely not be undersold as the amount of raw power that you get through Ascendance. Whether we're talking about single target fights like raids or AoE like Mythic Plus, it is definitely one of the best damage out there with such a massive impact. Every time you pop your major cooldowns, you're all just going to be absolutely shredding everything that's in front of you. And the structure of Elemental right now is also pretty varied. You're not just spamming just fire, lava burst abilities or just lightning bolts either. You're mixing everything up bit by bit depending on the content. But all of those combinations that you get to play around with are pretty easy to pick up on, so it's really easy to get into the spec as of this moment. From there, we have the class of Warlock, and I actually think the easiest one to get into.
Look, I've said this before. If you want to play a class that almost will always guaranteed have like one of the top 5 DPS specs as one of its specs, then Warlock is a good one to go with. I don't know why. Blizzard has always loved Warlocks. They've always felt like, yeah, they deserve to have one of their specs be viable in every single patch and expansion. Yeah, Warlock's the one, and right now I think they have like 2 and 3 in terms of ranking for raid right now. Like 2 of their specs are in the top 3. It's they're doing really good. I think the only one that's not top 3 right now is the Demonology, might be.
So right now for the season, there's a lot of good options between Affliction, Demonology, and Destruction, but I actually think Destro would be one of the better choices overall. It's really hard to tell if any of the Warlock specs are really perfect this season. They're not bad, but they don't necessarily stand out like some of the other options out there. But I do think Destruction is one of the better ones to get into, at least as of this moment. One, there's not too many buttons to get into, so the complexity of the spec is rather on a lower end. However, there's still quite a bit of depth with every single ability that you use, and some of the combos that you can weave in, and then you add the hero talents on top of it, which add additional depth, which makes Destro, while, you know, kind of easy to start with, is still an engaging playstyle overall. And it has really good propensity for single target damage, but also even better cleave and AoE damage. Whenever you're fighting more than one enemy, Destruction is in its home field.
Yeah, is it AoE that we looked at? It was really good, or was it single target right now?
Drowning them full of rain of fire eternally. It is super highly impactful. The spec.
Yeah, probably overall damage. It had AoE involved. I think that was where they were really shining. AoE damage from Warlocks is good.
Always makes huge plays when it comes to its overall damage, especially when there's any fights focused on a burst. And with how many fights in a raid right now that have some sort of a cleave component, it does give Destruction quite a bit of an edge in those types of situations. Finally, with the class of Warrior, I really do think you should definitely give Arms Warriors a go. They are pretty simple to get into, but they have such massively impactful damage. I mean, that is my favorite part when it comes to Arms Warrior, is every single mortal strike, every single button that you press has so much impact, whether it is the visual, the auditory, or just the amount of damage that it offers, like the big crits that pop up on your screen. I'm a sucker for big crit damage.
I'm a sucker for the damn heroic leap. I'm so jealous of warriors and their damn heroic leap. Just the way they fly around and just the way they hit the animation, how they hit the ground is so badass. And it's such a good mobility tactic too, to use to get out of things, to get into soaks, to do all. I've always thought warriors were pretty cool.
These numbers go, it simply just does things to my brain. It just hits the right way, and it's just super enjoyable to see every single time. I can never get tired of it. But it also gets to play around with Colossus, which kind of amplifies that to the nth degree with the ability to demolish.
The opposite of Blood DKs.
Pretty satisfying as well.
In terms of mobility, yeah, they're way more mobile than Blood DKs.
But where it really has some of the most excellent damage output, way above other classes, is in its execute damage. Now, there's a handful of classes out there that do execute damage, but I don't think any of them do as well as Arms does. And I think it's always really cool whenever you have a class or a spec that's really good at this one thing, and it's maybe even better than everybody else at that one thing. And for Arms, landing those executes and finishing off foes is their bread and butter, which I think just adds towards more of the unique gameplay of that spec specifically. But with that, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Also, join our Discord community to keep up with any of the newer class changes or patch notes that may appear for the rest of the season, or if you just want to catch up with all the new 11.17 upcoming content. Also, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Good video. Cool. Nice classes. Yeah, a lot of these classes are part of the meta right now. If not, they're like fringe meta, which means they're very viable. Overall, I would say, yeah, playing classes like Disciplined Priest right now is going to get you invited to a lot of shit. Same with Vengeance Demon Hunter if it comes to Mythic Plus. And then Devastation Evoker. Devastation Evoker is doing really good right now. It's good to see, considering Evoker was like not viable for a lot of this expansion. But overall, cool video and cool specs.